Hello YouTube, gonna do a quick tier list for patch 1.6. The patch has been out for about a week and a half now or so, and I've kind of gotten a little grasp of the meta. Just kind of wanted to wait a little bit to see if anything new popped up or like any new strategies came up, as opposed to just making a tier list kind of within the first few days. And I feel like I've done that now, so we're just gonna get right into it. Argus, I think, is pretty good right now. I think he's strong into the current meta. A lot of people are playing things like Ramp, Mourn, these like friendliner characters, tanky melee supports like Riktor are being played a lot right now. Argus is really good at shredding these characters. He's also pretty safe in mid. He's not top tier, but he's definitely like a good pick. Solid, rounds out most comps pretty well right now. Only thing really boring from the top tier is he just doesn't really have enough. He doesn't have enough like burst potential to kill like some of the ADCs. Like if he gets ulted by a Revenant or something like that, like he can't really do much about it. As well as he gets out pressured by some of these other mid laners. So for the moment right now, he's just A tier. He's not OP or anything like top tier or anything. Just good. Moving on to Aurora, she's just average. Her best role is probably support right now. Not really that good in jungle, not that good in solo. She doesn't really win that many matchups, but she doesn't lose any matchups. She's just kind of like a pushy kind of character. You kind of just become an ult bot. Due to the augment upgrades, she didn't really get buffed as much as some of the other characters. Last patch, she was probably S tier, and it just kind of just falls down a little bit due to other characters just getting better augments. So right now, she's just kind of B tier. Going on to Boris, pretty below average, I would say. Very strong early game character, but he falls off really hard. Kind of the same thing with Aurora. All of his augments are kind of like pretty mid at best. He doesn't really have any like augment that's like super insane right now. On top of the fact that he himself is not that insane to begin with. So while 1.6 didn't have like character changes specifically in terms of like character balance, uh, due to the fact that his augments are weaker, but he's just naturally below the curve right now, in my opinion. Countess, pretty top tier pick, I would say, in terms of like ranked in comp. I would put her like A tier. In rank, she's more of like an S tier pick. Just because in rank you can get away with a lot more. In comp, people are gonna counter it a little better. So I'm just gonna put her A tier for now, just because it's more of like a competitive tier list as opposed to ranked tier list. But I will mention ranked strength for some of these characters, as this is mostly like a competitive tier list. The reason she's A in comp is, again, you just kind of like snowball lane in ranked. Like you can 1v1 people and you just kind of kill them. In comp, you end up becoming kind of like a one for one bot late game. Like you dash in, you trade a combo on like a backliner, and then you get stunned by the support and you just trade one for one. So like in lane, you're really good, but then you kind of fall off a little bit in the later stages. Whereas in ranked, that doesn't really happen as much, which is why she'd probably be S tier in ranked. Going on to Crunch. He is more of a situational pick. He's probably in the A tier, but due to the fact that he's kind of hard to pick in like the 1-2 slots, because you just have to kind of see what the other team picks. I'm gonna put him in B tier. You just have to be careful playing him into certain things, like Riktor stuff with like really heavy CC. But he is a good pick, and you could argue his A tier slot. It's just a very situational pick, and it's just hard to pick him high in the draft. He doesn't really have any super big weaknesses. The augment that gives him extra dash range is really good. Just not like super OP, like overpowered. He does flex two rolls, which is really nice. It just you have to be careful what you pick it into. That's really the biggest problem with Crunch right now. Moving on to Dekker, probably the best range support right now. Like most of the range supports are kind of weak at the moment, except for Dekker. I think she's pretty like good, arguably average, but due to the fact that she's better than other range supports, I have to put her a little higher. She's just solid. The augment that speeds your team up when you jump is pretty good, and then the one that makes the ult larger and also shreds prots is really strong, especially into these melee supports like Riktor and stuff like that, and these other tanks that people are playing, Rampage, stuff like that. Very, very good pick. Not really played as much as I would expect, but I think people are starting to come around to it. People are starting to play her a little bit more, at least on the competitive side, and I would expect that to start trickling down towards ranked and then eventually towards the lower ranks. But she's a little bit harder to play. Just a very solid character, always kind of has been. Have to hit your stun balls really. Other than that, I mean, character kind of plays itself. Going on to Drongo, kind of below average right now in compared to other ADCs. He's not unplayable. He's just slow. He lacks DPS compared to the other characters. His augments are just not as strong. The ult one is probably his best one, but when you go that augment, you lose a lot of burst, so your 1v1 potential is significantly worse. He also, in my opinion, doesn't work as well with the current builds in ADC. Some items are really good on him, and some items just aren't. as well as the fact that he does get countered, in my opinion, by the top ADCs right now. It's very hard for him to box somebody like Revenant. It's very hard for him to box somebody like Kira or Sparrow, who are the more like prio picked ADCs right now. So for that reason, he's just a little bit lower. Then we have Feng Mao in ranked, S tier pick, top tier pick in ranked. In comp, I'd say he's probably more of an average pick. You just have to be, again, careful what you pick it into. Kind of similar to Crunch. Very solid pick, just careful what you pick it into. You have to pick it a little bit later in the draft. It's not a good first pick. It's not a good second pick. It's more of a counter pick where you pick something, you see somebody pick something on the other team and you're like, I can punish that. And then you pick the Feng Mao into that. If you pick it early, you're going to end up playing it into something like Crunch or something that bullies it early game, and then you're going to have a much harder game to play. Other than that, he's a good pick. You just have to be careful what you pick it into. Ranked, again, like S tier pick, A tier pick for sure. He's very good at carrying games and like stomping people and the snowballing leads. Just in comp, he's more of an average pick. You just have to be careful where you pick him. I would also say in ranked, like again, be careful where you pick him. Very similar to comp. You just have to be aware of how to play him and like where you're going to draft him in the pick. Definitely do not draft his character first. That being said, he is still like a very good pick, and if you play jungle, you should try to learn him if you can. Gadget. Last patch she was like A tier, S tier. She's kind of just average right now. A lot of the mids are like pretty strong. Gadget, while not weak, is just worse than the other mids. So while she might be better than some of the other picks that'll be in this like B tier, like average tier, she is just worse than the other mids, which as a result pushes her down the tier list a little bit more. Another character in average, Gideon, kind of the same issue. He's like very safe, but he's a little bit more inconsistent compared to some of the other mids. So for that reason, he's also in average tier. Again, he also struggles into characters like Countess and Dekker and some of the other picks that'll be up here towards the top end. Good character, good pick. Just have to be careful where you pick them into, and then also they're usually just better picks. Mainly, which is the biggest problem for him, is why pick Gideon when you could play something else? Like, why play Gideon when you can play, Howitzer or Faye or Belica right now? There's just not really a reason. So he's just kind of B tier right now. Very solid pick if somebody picks Gideon high up. One of the good things to Gideon is that you can pick him high up. He's very safe, so it's like people can draft to cancel your ultimate, but you can't really be drafted to get ganked, which is a lot of the way people play the meta right now. So for that reason, like he's very safe in that regard, but you just like he doesn't really have the same DPS that some of these other mages have right now. Moving on to Greystone, probably the first S tier pick. He doesn't really have any weak matchups in the sense that he just like hard loses lane. The only one that he maybe loses to is Countess, but if you play against a Countess in solo, you can just play the Greystone in jungle, and there's not really a problem. He's a great flex pick, good pick, very easy to play. S tier in ranked, S tier in comp, very strong pick. Would highly recommend learning Greystone if you don't play him. He's just a great pick right now. Going on to Grim, probably one of the worst characters in the game right now. He's not unplayable. He's just more of like, if you want to play Grim, you're playing it because you want to have fun, or you just want to play Grim. You're not really ever going to pick Grim over the other ADCs right now. He just doesn't really do anything the other ADCs don't, as well as the fact that his augments are just kind of not good. None of them really help him that much. The shield one is okay. The ult one is just kind of irrelevant, more gimmicky than anything, and I don't even know what the third one is because that's how bad it is. Nobody's really playing this. I've seen it maybe 2 games since the patch. It's just not good compared to the other ADCs. You just lack the relevancy in the game that some of these other ADCs have, and a lot of the agents that the other ADCs have right now. Going on to Grux. Another character that's kind of just for fun right now. You could argue he's C tier. You could argue he's just below average, but in my opinion, he's just D tier. He does flex 3 roles, so for that reason, like I'll put him in C tier. He flexes 3 roles. That's the only reason I'm going to put him here. Is that if you do pick him, he is a good flex, but he is just weak in all regards. In order for Grux to get value, you kind of have to build damage like Sky Splitter, but if you build stuff like Sky Splitter, you just get blown up in the team fights. As soon as somebody goes on you, you are insanely squishy. So he just kind of struggles this line where you either build tanky and do nothing in terms of damage, so you're not really a threat and people just ignore you, or you build damage and then you are a threat, but you die instantly, so you have to play him kind of like an assassin. It just puts him in a weird situation where he's just not allowed to get value and do what he actually wants to do. Next up, we have Howitzer. I think he's like A tier. I think people are starting to come around to him a little bit. I think he is good. I think he has great burst. He's good into the like tankier meta picks. He's very safe. You can go the ult augment. You can go the mine augment. Both are really good. The attack speed one, not super good, but his damage potential is really good. He works well with the builds right now. Just a strong mid pick right now. Nothing overpowered, just solid. Iggy and Scorch. Nobody really plays this character in rank that much, so he doesn't really get banned. But in comp, he is banned every game. There's almost no games that this character gets through, and if he does get through, he is like a first pick, first ban every single time. Very strong character, very good in team play. Like, you can just solo objectives, you absolutely burn objectives. With the 4th turret augment, you just drop 4 turrets, you ult the objective, it dies before your ult's even over. Absolutely insane character right now. Again, nobody really plays it in ranked. It's a little bit more of a comp pick because you kind of have to just be like set up on objectives and do the objectives. But even in ranked, you can still do it, and you can do it by yourself, especially if you're like duo queued. Maybe it can be really strong. If you're doing it with like a jungler, you can just 2-man it. Great pick. Not really played in ranked. Would still be S tier in ranked in my opinion. People just don't really play it. If people did play it, I would probably see his character banned a little bit more. I'm not sure if people are playing it in the lower ranks, but in the higher ranks, he again just isn't really getting played. Even though, like, competitively speaking, he's banned in almost every single scrim that I've played and every single scrim that I've watched. Going to Kallari. Last patch, she was like A tier. This patch, kind of like Grim, just for a fun pick. All of her augments kind of just suck. They don't really give her that much value. The only one that would be really useful is the crit one if it worked on Envy, where like you come out of the Envy gives you 100% crit chance for your next auto. If that would allow your abilities to crit off that 100% crit chance, she would be a lot more playable. But that's not how it works because Envy only procs on auto attack, so it doesn't actually allow your abilities to crit. Um, that's like the only augment that's like kind of okay on her, but it requires you to go as sus build where you don't really have cooldown. So it's just like she just kind of lacks a lot of the potential that she could have right now, and for that reason, she's just not really that good. She gets bullied by most characters. You could still play her and get value, but it's not like you're playing her for fun, really. Like, you're either a Kallari one trick or you're just trying to have fun. She's just not that good right now. Khaimera, C tier. Um, in comp, he's never really getting played. In ranked, he's probably a B tier. Since he can flex solo, his ult lane's not too bad. His jungle's like not too bad, but he's just kind of B tier. You do have to play like hyper aggro and like try to fight and trade early. This can result in you dying. If you die at all in this point, your game is over. But in ranked, you can get away with that playstyle a little bit more. In comp, you're going to get punished for that. So in comp, he's more of a C tier pick. But in ranked, you could definitely argue for A tier, B tier for average. Solid pick, not OP though by any stretch. On to Kira. Kira's very good. A tier pick for sure. Very, very strong ADC. Does a lot of damage. Her augments are okay. She was probably the best ADC on the last patch. While her augments might not be as strong as some of the other ADC augments that got buffed, she's still really good. And it kind of carries her to the fact that her augments are a little bit weaker. So she's still a very top tier pick. Not like the number 1 pick right now, but maybe the number 3 pick, arguably the number 2 pick. Very strong character. Her and Skylar are kind of just fighting for that like the second, third spot between Revenant and Sparrow, who are the S tier picks right now. Next up, we have Kwang. Kind of similar to Iggy, where in comp games he's banned pretty much every game. If not banned, he's first picked. The only difference between him and Iggy is Kwang is actually played in ranked, so he gets banned a lot in ranked as well as picked a lot in ranked. Very top tier pick, plays jungle, plays solo, plays support, 3-role flex, wins almost every single matchup except for like Countess in solo lane. In jungle, he doesn't really have that many bad matchups. If you do have a bad matchup in jungle, you just play away from the person or you just play secondary engage, where you just try to poke the back line, and then when you have an opportunity to, or your solo laner or your support or somebody creates you some space, then you go in and you do your thing and you one-shot the enemy ADC or the enemy mid laner. A fantastic pick right now. Belica, a tier pick. She has kind of 2 builds that's going around right now. She has the normal default burst build, and then she has this like auto attack build where you go Typhoon Prophecy, and then you go full magical power. And Typhoon scales off magical power. The attack speed that you get scales off the magical power, as well as the auto attack passive that she has, and then the like auto attack augment, and then prophecy. So she actually does a pretty decent amount of auto attack scaling, and she does get some decent attack speed from Typhoon due to the way Typhoon works. So that build's pretty decent, and then she also has the normal default burst build. Both are pretty good. It's just kind of situational. I think into tanks, you want to go the more bursty build because the auto attack build just doesn't get as much value against tanks. But if you're against squishy comps, the auto attack build is actually pretty good. Just kind of game situational. Very decent pick right now, though. A tier for sure. Morigesh. I don't think she's as troll as like Kallari and Grim, but she's definitely not good. She's probably best in solo right now, as opposed to like mid. Her mid lane is not good right now. If you're gonna play Morigesh, you're probably playing it solo lane, and it's specifically good into like Countess, specifically, or like some of these other solo lane picks that are kind of hard to deal with, like Sevarog and stuff like that. C tier pick, you have to be careful picking it early. Just make sure you know what you're picking it into. If you pick it early, the jungler is going to pick something that can camp you, and then you're going to get feasted on. Just be careful what you pick it into. But it is an okay solo laner. Definitely better in solo than it is in mid, but if you want to play it in mid, I mean, nobody's going to stop you. Mourn, probably the best support right now. Gets banned sometimes, doesn't get banned other times. He's more of a top tier pick in comp. Um, in ranked, I'm not really sure like how often he gets picked. Like I feel like he gets picked a lot, but then sometimes I don't see him picked like 10 games in a row, and then sometimes I see him picked every single game. Sometimes I see him banned, sometimes I don't see him at all in the draft. I think this character's S tier. In comp, he's definitely S tier. He gets picked every game or banned. As far as ranked, I don't see him as often as I feel like I should. Kind of like A and Scorch, he just kind of flies under the radar, I think, sometimes, and people just don't really play it, or they don't want to play it because they don't really find it that fun. Murdock, another A tier, or well, B tier pick, just average, nothing insane. His augments are just okay. He's nothing crazy right now. His damage is decent. He's just your basic ADC. Probably the most balanced character in the game right now, I would say. I think people actually build the wrong augment on him. The trap augment is actually a lot better than I think people give it credit for. A lot of people build the ult augment. I think that's actually his worst one. The piercing one is good, but the Murdock trap one I think is a little bit underrated right now, and people don't really build it. I think people experiment with that a little bit more. They'll realize how good it is. He's just an average pick though, nothing insane. He's just Murdock. You get ults across the map, you get free kills. Your damage is strong. You have prot tread on your right click. You're safe. You're good into a lot of the bruiser picks like Crunch or like some of these assassins that want to dive on you. You just push them off you. It's just a decent pick. Muriel, probably below average right now. I do think people are playing her wrong right now. People buy the augment that reduces her cooldowns when you RMB somebody. I think that's her worst augment, actually. I think the CC immunity on alt 1 is probably her best, but I don't think she's insane. She's kind of weak in lane. Her late game falls off a little bit. She's just not what she used to be right now. And I think she's just kind of C tier. Next up, we have Narb. Narb is decent. He's not bad. He's just a little slow. Like, he takes a little bit of time to get online. I think the gold income being nerfed a little bit hurts this character a lot more than some of the other supports. That and the fact that there's a lot more burst in the game from the augments, like Executioner, that increases damage on lower HP targets and things like that, allows you to actually burst people enough to the point where they can't live. And if they don't live on 1 HP, then the Narb can't heal them up. So I think Narb is a little bit weaker on this patch just due to some of the augments and the interactions, as well as the fact that his augments themselves are not like insane. Um, he always has this thing where he comes up to be S tier on tourney day. It's possible that that happens again during PCC this weekend, but it's also possible that he just stays in the average tier and doesn't really fly up. But in tournaments, he usually does fly up. As far as ranked picks, I'd probably say he's like A tier, if not B tier. He's like in both. He kind of floats. He generally has a really high win rate in the game, but people don't really play him that much. So it's kind of hard to really get a grasp on how good he is in ranked, at least at the high level. In the lower levels, I don't know if people are really playing it, but he is a very easy character to play, and he is solid. Don't let yourself sleep on Narb. He is a decent pick. Phase, another for fun pick, just not great. Her augments aren't amazing. She already wasn't that good, and then her augments being mid just continue to drag her down. She's not crazy. If you want to play her, you can, but she's like, you gotta want to play the pick. It's not something that you're like, man, Phase is so good here. It's just kind of like, yeah, I just want to play Phase. Not a great pick. Not really much to say about her. Ramp, another 3-way flex pick. Very similar to Kwang. Wins most matchups. Great in jungle, great in solo, great in support. They have a build going around where you go Ashbringer plus mini Rampage, and you can rock somebody with your Q, and then immediately just start auto attacking them, and then you don't rumble at all. You just auto attack, and by the time they're out of the stun from their rock, you can throw another rock immediately, and you could just CC chain somebody by yourself, which is kind of insane, while also doing good DPS. It's a really strong build, and for that reason, he's like S tier. In comp, in ranked, I would say he's like S plus tier. He's probably a tier above in ranked, as he's a really good pick. Just really good at doing objectives, really good at creating space. He kind of does everything you need right now from a solo or support, or sorry, solo or jungle. He can still be played support, but support's definitely his weakest role. Then we have Revenant, arguably the best ADC. The only thing stopping Revenant from being the best ADC is the other best ADC, which is Sparrow. We'll get to her in a second. He's really good. He's good at every matchup. He's good in the tanks. He's good in the squishies. He will literally just one-shot you at like 3-4 items. The 4-shot does an absolutely insane amount of damage with the 4-shot augment. Absolutely insane character right now. If you haven't been playing Rev, start playing Rev. S tier in ranked, S tier in comp. Great pick right now. Next up, we have Riktor. Same as always, he's a hit or miss. I'm just going to put him average. If you're hitting every hook, he's S tier. If you're not hitting every hook, he's for fun. I'm just going to put him average because he's a character that's very just hot or cold. You're either hitting everything and you're insane, you're S tier, or you're not hitting everything and you're terrible. Like, you're just doing no value. You're not getting any value for your team. Very decent pick. He plays 3 roles right now. His solo and his jungle got buffed, so he's actually playable there now. But again, you have to be hitting your hooks. If you're not hitting your hooks, this character isn't really useful. You have to hit the hooks, and how strong he is really just based on the percentage of hooks that you hit. Serath, competitively speaking, she's like an A tier. In ranked, I would say she's S tier for sure, but in comp, she's a little bit more A tier, kind of similar to Countess, where in ranked, you kind of get away with a little bit more shenanigans and a little bit more like just getting away with random shit. In comp, if you try to do some random shit, you're going to get punished for it. You will get turned on, you might trade 1 for 1. You might even get 2 of them, but you're going to trade and you're going to bait your team into a bad position. You have to be careful playing this pick in comp. Very strong. The stun augment is absolutely insane. She works really well with the builds right now. Technorad is great on her. Ashbringer, Technorad is the augment, the minor augment. Ashbringer, great on her. She works really well with the builds right now. She works really well in the meta. She's good in tanks. She's good in the squishies. She's good at punishing people. So you can avoid a lot of damage. She's good in the characters like Revenant, like a lot of these top tier picks. You just have to be careful playing her in like a competitive environment. As far as rank goes, she's definitely like an S tier pick though. Sevarog, competitively, I'd say A tier. Flex, solo jungle, great pick. Good lane prio, scales phenomenally, works really well with the builds. Becomes an absolutely demon character in the late game. As far as ranked goes, probably average. The problem with Sevarog in ranked is that you might lose before you get a chance to play the game. You kind of have to scale a little bit. Once you get to like 80 stacks, you're really, really strong, but you have to get there first. It's a little bit harder to do that in ranked because your team might just go 0-10 by the time you get a chance to get to 80 stacks. So for that reason, I would put him a little bit lower in ranked, but in comp, he's a great pick right now, A tier for sure. Shinbi probably got drafted the hardest on some of the augments. Her augments just don't really do anything for her. The one that gives her like her passive back doesn't really help her that much, and then the one that gives her haste looks really good on paper, and you'd be like, man, free haste is awesome. The problem with that is that you already build a lot of haste to begin with. Like the items that you're gonna build, Oathkeeper, Magnify, like Tainted Scepter, all of these items already have haste on them. And the way haste works in this game is the more haste you have, the less actual cooldown they give you because you get diminishing returns. So while the haste augment is really nice, it doesn't really help her that much because her build already covers that department in terms of haste, which as a result lowers the effectiveness of the augment. She's definitely like playable. I'm actually gonna put her C tier. I don't think she's as bad as the other 3 picks, but she's just not as good as she was on the previous patch. And the main problem is just her augments don't really do that much for her. Skylar, again, kind of competing for that like A tier, like second tier ADC with Kira. Very good, safe, hard to kill, good DPS, decent against tanks, decent against squishies, great on objectives. Her augments, so. They're not like amazing, but they're not bad. Very similar to Kira. Great character, pretty mid augments, but they get carried by how just good the character is in general. Good pick. Nothing really to say about Skylar, and the fact she's just good. If you play against Skylar, annoying as hell to kill. Decent lane prio. Just nothing insane. Just Skylar, really. Moving on to Sparrow. Sparrow, absolutely insane character. Her DPS is insanely high. She's very good into a lot of these picks, like Mourn, like Riktor, a lot of the melee supports that people are playing. She's a direct counter to Revenant, who is the best ADC right now. So if the enemy team picks Revenant, pick Sparrow, just ult him. He can't do anything about it. If he ults you, you just ult him. You will out DPS him every time. She's just really good right now. Her DPS is very very high. You do have to position a little safe. So I might not recommend it to like a new player, but she is very good, and I would recommend you maybe try to learn her. But if you're worried about your positioning, just play something a little bit safer like Kira or Skylar. But absolutely insane ADC right now. Very high DPS. Steel, average. He's just a good AD, just a good support. He's just a tank. I mean, that's really it. You could play him solo. You could play him jungle. I think his best role is support right now. Bulldoze, being the CC immunity on the dash, allows him to be punished a lot less in lane and a lot less in team fights. I think the ult one's not that good. A little bit more fun, but not that good. As far as the shield, I think the shield kind of sucks. The shield is really small. It doesn't really help him very much. Wouldn't really play Steel with the shield augment. Definitely go for the dash augment, his best one, and play him a little bit more in the support role. The only thing that sucks about playing Steel in the support role is that the lower gold income does actually affect him a lot. Before you could go like Fire Blossom, Tainted Guard, a little bit more of like a solo 2 kind of build. Now you actually kind of have to build more of a supporty build where you go like Frosted Lore and like Dynamo and stuff like that. Those cheaper items just to compensate for the fact that supports get a little bit less gold this patch. Terra, probably the most underrated character on the patch, I would say. Um, People haven't really been playing her at all, but I think she's really good into the meta, and she's just solid. I think she's strictly a jungler though. Her solo lane I think is pretty bad. She loses most matchups in solo right now. In jungle though, her game is pretty strong. I think she's really good into a lot of the picks, and I think she's very good at punishing a lot of the meta picks in like mid, specifically like punishing Iggy, punishing Belica, stuff like that. The axe augment where she resets her axe throw is actually really strong, and I would highly recommend you try out Terra. You could argue she's even A tier, honestly. I think she could go A tier or B tier. I'm gonna put her B tier now just because I think she's still a little underrated, and I think maybe I'm a little biased because I think she's really good. So I'm gonna just err on the side of caution and put her B tier, but I do think she could possibly move up to A tier. Next up, we have the Fae. Another good mid laner, very solid. Bramble augment is great. The right click augment is great. I mean, I was playing a scrim with her the other day, and I had the right click augment that heals, and I did 40k healing. I literally doubled the healing of a Mourn on the enemy team. Great character right now. Good into a lot of the meta picks. You know, she punishes Iggy, she punishes Belica. She's good into Howitzer, direct counter. She's great into a lot of these immobile picks. She's great into the melee front lines like Mourn, into Riktor or Steel. Like they can't pick up Reclamation because they're melee characters, so it's a lot harder for them to get value off of it and like build it because the stats on it are not as good. So for that reason, she gets a lot better, and she's very good at punishing those characters, especially like Mourn specifically and Riktor specifically. She's also good at punishing Kwang. If Kwang ever tries to play the game, you just ult him. He can't go cleanse because he's a magical character. He can go stasis, but not many people do that. But you can go stasis if you're playing Kwang into a Fae. Go stasis. Thank me later. You'll have a much better time playing the game. If you don't go stasis, she's just gonna ult you. You're gonna die off the ult every time. It's not a good time. If you play against Fae as Kwang, get a stasis. But as far as Faye goes, she's a great character right now. The Q augment is great. The right click augment is great. Very strong character. TB, another good ADC. I'm going to put him A tier just because I think he's a little bit worse than Kira and Skylar. The grenade augment is great and his DPS is good. He's just a little bit slow. You need some items to really start hitting hard. His lane prio is just not as good as like the other ADCs, and his early game's a little bit weaker. He does scale really well, and his mid to late game is really strong. You just have to get to that point in the game. Very safe pick, can't be frozen, just very strong. Great pick. I would never be upset to see a TB on my team. The problem is the other ADCs are just stronger. Kind of similar to Gideon and Gadget right now. He's just overshadowed at the moment. Wraith. Wraith was an S tier pick. Now I think he's a little bit more average. His mid lane kind of sucks. His duo lane kind of sucks. His support's still okay. He's still definitely playable in support, but the meta is a little bit more bursty, and I think you kind of need a little bit more beef on your team in general. And I think for that reason, he's kind of fallen a little bit in support. He also did get nerfed in the patch. He's one of the only characters that actually got nerfed recently. So, like, I just think he's a little bit worse. Also, gold in support getting nerfed. Like, you get less gold in support because you get less gold drip. And gold getting put more into minions means he gets less gold because you're not last hitting his support. He just falls a little bit for that reason. He's definitely still strong, but not like OP or anything. As far as ranked goes, I'd probably put him D tier. I don't really want to see a Wraith on my team in ranked. but competitively speaking, he is still like average and definitely decent. If you can hit your snipes, if you can hit your grenades and your combos, he's definitely still solid. You just have to make sure that you're hitting your combos. I don't really expect Jimmy Two Shoes to be hitting that in ranked, so for that reason, like in ranked, I would put him in D tier. As far as competitively speaking, if somebody's actually really good at the game and they know what they're doing, you can definitely get value off the character, and I'd put him average, B tier. Wukong. You could argue S tier for this character. I'm gonna put him A tier just because I don't think he's like a top pick character. I think you have to be a very specific type of player to play him, and you have to have a specific type of play style, and the people on your team have to understand the play style and know how to play around it. What I mean by that is he's like a split push character. He is still decent in team fights, and he does flex two roles, but you have to know how to play him in team fights very specifically, and then you also know how to play the split push play style in case team fights aren't working out. Great character, very strong character, great mobility, good damage. You do have to work for it a little bit sometimes, like for kills and things like that. Like you have to make sure you're doing your combos correctly, and you have to make sure that you're actually like using your two to avoid auto attacks from like ADCs, block stuns like Dekker stun, things like that. But as long as you're able to do that, definitely an A tier pick. As far as like ranked, I'd probably put him B tier. I just don't really trust the average person to be playing this character. They mostly just play it as like a split push character, and if you're gonna do like a 1v1 split push character, I think there's just better characters to pick. Usually, when people play this character as a split push character, they just kind of run away from 1v1s, and you actually don't have to do that. Um, but I don't think people are good enough to like really 1v1 most of the time. Like I don't think the average Wukong player is that good at 1v1ing, or they're not like as confident in terms of what 1v1s they can win, so they kind of just tend to run away. I think if you're gonna play that play style in ranked, like just play Shinbi and like play Shinbi over Wukong for that reason. If that's all you want to do, if you want to actually play him like correctly and like try to team fight if you can slash split push when you get the opportunity, as opposed to just like AFK split pushing the entire time, you could put him A tier. Competitively, he's A tier. As far as ranked, again, I'd probably put him in B tier, like average. Just due to the fact that I don't think people really play him to the full effectiveness that he's supposed to have. Yin, below average. She's just a strict counter pick. When you pick Yin, she's very good into the meta actually, like the top picks. Like she's good in the Iggy, she's good in the Ramp, she's good in the Rev, she's good in the Sparrow, she's good in the Dekker. Like she's good into a lot of the top picks, but she gets absolutely farmed by like the junglers of the patch. Like she gets farmed by Kwang, she gets farmed by Greystone, absolutely farmed by Sevarog, farmed by Serath, farmed by Crunch, farmed by Feng. She's really good into the picks that aren't the junglers and aren't the soul laners. But when she gets to actually play the game, she's really good. She's just really hard to play and get effective value off. You have to be getting good reflex, especially if you're playing against like Revenant. You have to reflect the force shot. If you're playing against Sparrow, you have to reflect the right click. You have to reflect the ultimate. You have to make sure you're using your ult correctly. As well as the fact that her builds kind of got nerfed a little bit. Sky Splitter, getting nerfed like multiple patches in a row, things like that. The other problem that she has is that she's slow. You do need like two items to be effective on this character. Prior to two items, you are really weak. You will lose most trades to every character, to like most characters in the game. You just have to be aware of the fact that you have to farm, you have to get your XP, you have to get your gold early game. Once you get some items, then you become a little bit more of a strong character. And like six items, you're really strong, but you just get absolutely farmed by some of these picks in the meta right now. And if those are on the other team, it is really hard to get away with Yin right now. As long as those picks aren't on the other team, lock it in and have a great time. She's a fun time when you can get away with it. Yurei, if there was a tier above S tier, she would be in a tier of her own. She's maybe like three tiers above whatever the top tier of the game is right now. She is absolutely insane. I don't know how, when I see people playing the game, if I'm watching like a stream or something and they're like, in plat or below, she's getting through every single game. I've seen this character maybe get through in Paragon level games twice in a week and a half. This character is absolutely giga bonkers. Like two tiers above the top pick in the game right now. Like she is insane. I don't know why people aren't playing it every game. If you want to climb, play Yurei every game. She is absolutely bonkers right now. I don't even understand how she made it to the live client in the state that she did. I get that she's a little bit harder to play, so the average player can't play her that much. So they made her like overtuned, and they want to collect data, so they just like she's a little bit new character. She's gonna be a little stronger in general, but she is like an absurd degree stronger. Probably the strongest release the game has ever had. Zarus, just an average pick. Solid, good scaling. He was better before they nerfed his augments in testing. Like in testing, his augments were a lot stronger. Like the scaling one was like twice as strong, stuff like that. Like he's a great pick, but he's not OP by any stretch. Cage is still good, good solo laner, good jungler. You could even play him support if you want to. Support might even be his best role right now. He's just good. You just play for Cage. You just try to combo with other abilities like Gadget or some other character on your team, pretty much. A Sparrow ultimate, something like that. Faye combos in the Cage, like things like that. Good character, just not OP. I think he is a little bit weaker than just other picks. He kind of has the problem that like TB has or Gideon, Gadget, like they're just better picks. It's really nothing to do with the character itself. It's just why pick him when you could play, Ure or Greystone or Kwang, right? Like you're just gonna pick a better pick. It's not really Zarus' fault. Decent character, just not OP right now. Zinx, another average support. I think she's a little underrated as well. I think people kind of think she's like D tier. I've seen her played very few times in scrims, but the times I have seen her, she's actually had a lot of value. She's a little bit of a sleeper pick right now. Haven't really seen people playing her in ranked. I've played it a couple times. I've seen a couple people play it that are really good at support, like TJ and like some other people that play comp, playing her in ranked, and she gets a lot of value. I just don't know why people aren't really playing her. Kind of like Dekker, I think people are just more stuck on the melee supports right now and haven't really come around to the, Zinx, Dekker train. I think they're both really good characters right now and they get a lot of value in the meta. But not really much else other than that. I mean, she's just kind of sleeper pick right now. Augments aren't amazing, but they're okay. The healing one is actually a little bit better than I think people would think. You do run out of mana fast, but you're going to build mana regen anyways. So it's not really too big of a deal. You do kind of have to get like 1 to 2 items. Kind of like Narbash, once you get some mana regen items, you become a healing machine. Stun is fantastic. Even the one that lowers the cooldown is also a great augment. Like, she's just a little bit of a sleeper pick. I don't know why people aren't really playing her right now. But yeah, that's going to do it for the tier list. Just kind of want to give you a quick tier list of my updated thoughts on the meta in terms of competitive thoughts, as well as some of the ranked thoughts on some of these characters. Again, this is mostly a competitive tier list. Some thoughts on where I would place characters on ranked I can't speak, a little bit differently. But yeah, that's pretty much where I would place characters in terms of competitive / like Paragon level games right now. And where if you're trying to play like a Paragon level player, uh, this is where you should kind of, you know, stick towards the top tier picks as opposed to some of these more bottom tier picks that I see a lot in the lower ranks specifically. Like I see a lot of Morigesh on streams in the lower ranks. I see a lot of Khaimeras, a lot of Borises. Like these are low tier like snowball picks that can be really good in low tier, but you're gonna hit a barrier where you're gonna get punished playing these picks, and you're not gonna get as much value. Try to stick towards more of the upper echelon of picks like this S tier and the A tier picks. But that's it for me. I appreciate everybody watching, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their afternoon. That's going to do it for my 1.6 tier list. I might update this on 1.65 because I expect it to be a pretty big balance change just because 1.6 was a big balance update with the augments. 1.65 might also be a big balance change just due to the fact that they're probably going to want to balance a lot of these augments and a lot of these characters since it was a big shift in the meta and some of the character strengths. So I might update this in the future, but if not, it'll be 1.7 for sure. I'll probably do another one. But yeah, thanks for watching. And if you disagree or have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, and I will try to respond whenever I get a chance.